Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. I'm so glad that you've joined us. We'll kick it off with viewer comments. And of course, Mark mentions what we've all been talking about all weekend. He says, good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mark. Friday was bad. Hearing that Elise Stefanik dropped out of the governor's race. I think there's a lot of possible reasons. Bruce Blakeman getting in, her family, and possibly Trump. But in the end, she probably had good reasons. I'll have to vote for Blakeman because I certainly don't want Hochul in again. Well, and thank you, Mark. There's a lot of speculation, and I've got a couple pieces we'll get to later on in the broadcast, that one of the reasons she dropped out, keep in mind, she didn't just drop out of the governor's race. She also declared that she was not going to run for re-election to Congress. Now, that's almost more shocking because that's an easy seat for her to win. I mean, she could walk right into it. So the speculation is that she didn't get in, or that she didn't continue to run because she wanted that endorsement from Trump. And when Trump didn't come right out and endorse her and kind of played the fence and said that both she and Blakeman are really great people, she was almost jilted, for lack of a better term. We're going to talk about that. Now, the president did come out and say some very nice things about Stefanik and then endorsed Bruce Blakeman after, of course, she dropped out of the governor's race. It is discouraging. I truly believe that Elise Stefanik was probably our best chance at winning the governor's race in generations. I mean, really, since Pataki. And whatever you think about Pataki, we don't have to get into that. But it was, I'm with you. It was a bad day when that was announced. I was shocked when someone sent it to me early on. The New York Times reported it at first, I believe. I was shocked because, again, maybe not necessarily dropping out of the governor's race, though that was disheartening, but also to not run for re-election to Congress is shocking to me. I mean, she is a star. She's in a leadership position. Now, she lost her original leadership position because she was going to be, of course, ambassador to the UN. So there's been a couple of times where Trump and Johnson and others have kind of let her down, for lack of a better term. We are going to talk about it more in depth a little bit later on. I also wanted to mention in the 7 o'clock hour, we're going to talk with representatives from the Lori Cup. The Lori Cup is on December 27th. It's a soccer tournament, and the money raised goes to the Ann and Robert Lori Children's Fund. You're going to find out all about that. That's right at the Corning YMCA. It was a fun interview. In full disclosure, pre-recorded. We recorded it on Friday. I'm going to broadcast that in the 7 o'clock hour. Okay, a couple quick things, breaking news, updates from stories we had last week. First, on a sad note, World War II Navy veteran Ira Ike Schaub, one of the last remaining Pearl Harbor survivors, has passed away at the age of 105. His daughter said that he passed away at home early Saturday in the presence of her and her husband. With his passing, there remain only about a dozen survivors of the surprise attack, which killed just over 2,400 troops and propelled the United States into war. Schaub was a sailor of just 21 at the time of the attack, and for decades he rarely spoke about his experience. But in recent years, aware that the corps of survivors was dwindling, he made a point of traveling from his home in Beaverton, Oregon, to the annual observance at the Hawaii military base. And we talked about this on the program right after December 7th, that there were no survivors of the attack in attendance at the ceremony this year. For last year's commemoration, Schaub spent weeks building up, then got cut off. But this year he did not feel well enough to attend, and less than 3 weeks later he passed away. Born on Independence Day in 1920 in Chicago, Schaub was the eldest of 3 brothers. He joined the Navy at 18, following in the footsteps of his father. And then we all know what happened on Pearl Harbor Day. So one of the last remaining Pearl Harbor survivors, Ike Schaub, passes away at the age of 105. Now, yesterday, you may have missed this. I just wanted to, there's no way to segue between these stories, so my apologies. But yeah, this was on Saturday. People gathered in the nation's capital to pay their respects to the penny. A mock funeral hosted by financial management platform Ramp was held at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., following the end of production of the 1-cent coin. Attendees surrounding a casket as speakers delivered eulogies, including actors portraying former President Abraham Lincoln and former First Lady Mary Todd Lincoln. A portrait made entirely of pennies depicting Abraham Lincoln, whose likeness, of course, appears on the coin, was also displayed at the event. Actors portraying President George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were among the mourners, along with a portrayal of John Wilkes Booth, Abraham Lincoln's assassin. The crowd also included people dressed as Santa Claus. They delivered an autopsy report outlining the penny's economic demise. Oh, they even had someone dressed up as the scary movie character Pennywise. The funeral followed last month's ceremonial striking of the nation's final penny by Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, officially making the end of the penny production. For more than 230 years, the penny had circulated through American piggy banks and cash registers, but rising production costs, each penny now costing nearly 4 cents to make, and shifts in consumer behavior, such as the rise of digital payments, have made it impractical to keep producing them. In February, President Trump announced plans to halt the production of the pennies. Trump, writing on Truth Social at the time, for far too long, the United States has minted pennies, which literally cost us more than 2 cents. This is so wasteful. I've instructed my Secretary of the U.S. Treasury to stop producing new pennies. So quite a turnout at the mock funeral held for the penny. All right. Now, last week we talked about President Trump's address to the nation. And there's been, in the media, and I've got some media updates that are going to, well, I'll get your blood boiling this morning. But the media has been very critical of him. It's so interesting to me. The line is that essentially he's doing what Biden did, which is to pretend the economy's good and showing you graphs and charts even though you're not feeling it. So that's how they've tried to present it. Though at the time, they were not critical of Biden for doing that. As a matter of fact, they were told, or we were told, I should say, never mind what you're experiencing. Look at this kind of paperwork, right? Well, Miranda Devine says there was a lot of sneering about the president's primetime address to the nation last week when he boasted of his achievements for the year. It was too, quote, loud. It was too, quote, partisan. It was too boastful. It was too Trumpian. It interrupted the finale of Survivor. But Donald Trump was right to count the ways his administration has delivered on its promises this year because nobody else will. And this is the argument we've been making on the program, that they're critical in the media of him doing this. But as we said, how else is he going to get his message out? The media is not going to promote him or his agenda, so he had to kind of do an end run around and promote it himself. I inherited a mess and I'm fixing it was Trump's theme, with a modest pitch for an optimistic outlook in 2026. On Thursday, the day after his speech, fate smiled on him when inflation rates came in at 2.7%, well below the 3.1% predicted by experts and below the long-term U.S. average. Democrats were devastated. But you probably didn't hear the good news because only news that hurts Trump counts. And if you did hear it, you would have had to wade through all sorts of qualifications and caveats crafted by Grinches in the newsrooms across the land. The media gatekeepers suddenly became sticklers for footnotes when there's a risk that Trump might be shown in a positive light. The problem with governing completely, let's try that again. The problem with governing competently is that people quickly take it for granted. When was the last time anyone talked about the border? That's a great point. The Washington Post last week bemoaned the changes implemented in Trump's first year to rein in the federal government bureaucracy, so you know they were good. Entire agencies were deleted at Wales. Nearly 300,000 employees were forced out of the federal workforce. The Trump administration also gutted or eliminated offices and programs devoted to civil rights and diversity. Hooray! Ditto for requiring that agencies cut 10 existing rules or regulations for every new rule introduced, ordering staff back to the office 5 days a week, allowing fossil fuels to be used in federal buildings again, canceling tens of millions of dollars in Environmental Protection Agency contracts to left-wing advocacy groups, terminating all federal fake news media contracts, as Trump called them, and ending Biden's $2.5 billion Digital Equity Act, which was a race-based slush fund. What's not to like? Success is not just measured in problems solved. One of Trump's superpowers is to shine light on extreme Democrat malfeasance around the country, which was turbocharged during the Joe Biden years. From revelations of staggering Somali fraud to new evidence that 315,000 votes in Georgia in 2020 were invalid, conservative belief has been vindicated time and again. Minnesota's industrial scale welfare fraud could reach $18 billion, most of it committed by Somali immigrant groups. Under two-term Governor Tim Walz, taxpayer money was so easy to steal that fraud tourists traveled to his state, according to federal prosecutors who have charged almost 100 people thus far. Every time we look under a rock and find a new $50 million fraud scheme, says Assistant U.S. Attorney Joseph Thompson, a career federal prosecutor. Minnesota is especially bad, and if we have a chance, I'm going to bring it up later on the program, because the New York Post had a really good piece, and I know some viewers had said the same thing, which was there's no doubt that this is happening in New York as well. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on because we have a lot of New York updates. We're going to talk a lot about Elise Stefanik this morning and the race for governor. As you know, I'm sure by now, Elise Stefanik has dropped out of the race. But I'll continue. Minnesota is especially bad, but it's just a tip of the fraud iceberg. For example, the Government Accountability Office released a report this month revealing more than $20 billion in systemic Obamacare fraud, including fake enrollments and payments to dead people. $20 billion. Federal welfare spending has been growing more than twice as fast as total federal spending and now costs $1.4 trillion annually, or $70,000 per low-income household per year, according to the Wall Street Journal. And wherever there is a gushing torrent of unaccountable taxpayer cash, fraudsters come a-calling. Turning a blind eye only benefits unscrupulous politicians like Walz, who gain reliable voting blocks and generous donations from the scammers. It's a grind, but Trump is attempting to right the ship and recoup taxpayer money. His latest effort is to make migrant sponsors pay back the money that migrants receive through taxpayer-funded welfare and Medicaid, a law that was never enforced under Biden. The administration is following the old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. ICE deportations, for instance, should reach 650,000 by year end, plus almost 2 million self-deportations as illegal aliens realize the gravy train has stopped. It's hard-earned, but still only a portion of the hordes Biden ushered across the border. The horrendous criminal records of so many have been arrested seem to validate Trump's claims Wednesday night that our country was being invaded by people who came from prisons and jails, mental institutions, and insane asylums. Common sense compassion is back when it comes to the surgical mutilation and hormone abuse of children brainwashed into questioning their gender. Men are men. Men can never be women. Women are women. Women can never become men, said the quiet achiever of Health and Human Services, Deputy Secretary Jim O'Neill, last week, when announcing new administration policies to restrict what the left calls gender-affirming care for minors. Children are innocent and need our protection, he said. Amen. Yet the Democrats will admit no wrong and have not renounced a single policy. In fact, last week, the Democratic National Committee decided not to release the autopsy of their 2024 election loss, claiming it would be a distraction. We brought that to you last week. I think that's very telling. It tells me that they have not learned their lesson, and what they think is that the midterms are inevitable, that they are going to win. It's a guarantee. It's a lock, so they don't need to rehash their historic landslide defeat last November. No wonder Democrat Party approval is in the toilet. Or as CNN's election analyst Harry Enton put it last week, lower than the Dead Sea. A Quinnipiac University national poll of registered voters last week found that only 18% approve of the way Democrats in Congress are handling their job, while a whopping 73% disapprove. That's a death spiral. But there are storm clouds on the horizon for conservatives. We can't whitewash that. The right is split, as we saw from the high-profile feuds hijacking America Fest, the first big TPUSA event since Charlie Kirk's assassination. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the broadcast. Instead of giving the audience of mainly college and high school age kids the tools they crave to combat the left, the event's most dexterous debaters, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, and Ben Shapiro, wasted their speeches fighting about toxic Candace Owens. This only helps Democrats who are yelling with glee and fanning the flames of this disharmony. If Democrats do win back power in 2028, it will be worse than we can imagine. There will be no guardrails. They'll stack the Supreme Court and create new Democratic states to entrench their power in perpetuity. For all of their problems, they benefited from staging the longest government shutdown in history and will do it again to slow Trump's agenda, blocking election integrity reforms and demoralizing his administration. Only axing the filibuster can neutralize that Democrat weapon. A promise to get rid of this outdated tradition should be the Christmas gift Senate Republicans give to America. Then all good things can flow. Merry Christmas to you all, and see you in 2026. I thought that was a good one from Miranda Devine, and I wanted to kick off the program with that. And I realize, now that I look here, I am running very, very late. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
Ferrari Auto Team! Buy a new 2025 Ram 1500 Crew, just $43,330. You save $10,000.
Or buy a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, just $38,490. You save $10,000.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
It's the Wrap Up the Year sales event going on now at Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.
Small businesses are the heart of America. Like you, these entrepreneurs started out with a dream and the drive to build a better life. If you have a small business idea to grow or challenge to face, you don't have to go it alone. Since 1964, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses. Today, they are the nation's largest nonprofit source of expert mentoring, resources, and education. Whether you're starting out, building back, or have worked at it for years, SCORE will match you with specialized mentors. Our thousands of volunteers provide the guidance and connections you need for free. Your success is waiting. SCORE is ready to help. Find a mentor today at SCORE.org.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We got so many compliments on the Salvation Army Telethon. It does look like we're going to hit that goal. Our goal was $12,000 because we had a very generous donor donate $6,000 and match anything up to $6,000. So we were trying to get to the $6,000. Last I knew, we were in sniffing distance, so to speak. And so I'm sure with last-minute checks coming in, and I got another donation from our friends from Brown Cigar Store, I think we will have hit that $12,000. So very excited about that. But the reason I mention it is our friend Doc Possum, who sent us so much great music this year and sends it to us every year. I had mentioned some of the events that he has coming up. Well, Doc Possum will be at the Radisson tonight for a Christmas trivia bingo, Christmas sing-along, giveaways and prizes, kind of a family fun night, a Christmas family fun night, tonight live at the Corning Radisson with very special guest Taylor Hurd. You may remember Taylor Hurd. We had her on the program a couple of months ago, and I can't remember the play that she was in, but she was in a production of some. I'm not gonna remember it, but of some upcoming play. Well, she is going to be performing as well, and they ask that you please bring a food donation in support of the local food bank and pantries holiday drive. So that's Doc Possum's Christmas Party 2025 tonight at the Radisson. Hope everybody can make it out for that. And as I mentioned, coming up in a little bit, we're going to be talking with our friends from the Lori Cup. It's a community fundraiser. You'll hear all about it in the 7 o'clock hour. We're going to talk a little bit about Epstein. I mean, there's not a ton to talk about there. I know the media is being critical, exactly as predicted here on this program, that there was so much redacted. But, of course, as we said, there would be a need for that redaction. But, of course, there was no way that Trump was winning in this scenario. Now Pam Bondi is being hit with impeachment threats over the Epstein, it says file failures, and that's coming from the Daily Beast, the far-left Daily Beast. A suspiciously Trump-free Epstein files dump came on Friday. Thomas Massie and I are drafting articles of impeachment and inherent contempt, said Representative Ro Khanna. We haven't decided whether to move it forward yet. I don't understand Thomas Massie necessarily. I know he's making a name for himself being kind of an anti-Trump Republican. I think he likes that attention. I don't understand it. But Khanna, co-sponsor of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, along with Republican Representative Thomas Massie, said he and Massie had their sights set on top DOJ brass after Friday's heavily redacted Clinton forward Epstein files dump. The release did not include all of the Epstein files. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanchett said the more documents will be dropped this week, which is an apparent violation of the Epstein Files Transparency Act, which requires all the files to be released by December the 19th. And of course, today's the 22nd. The issue is not are these 212 Democrats who would support it. The issue is how many Republicans and MAGA supporters would support it. My hope is she looks at the outrage that MAGA has, she looks at the disappointment that survivors have, and makes a decision over the next 2 weeks to release these documents. She may lose more Republicans than she anticipates. An impeachment effort against Bondi, Blanche, and any other DOJ brass would test the loyalty of congressional Republicans, the majority of whom didn't sign the discharge petition forcing the Epstein Files Transparency Act vote, but almost unanimously voted to pass it. Minutes earlier on CNN, Khanna made a similar threat, saying any Justice Department official who has obstructed justice could face prosecution in this administration or a future administration. Blanche's production violates the spirit of the law, and it violates the letter of the law, and it's a slap in the face of survivors. Friday's release came after weeks of reports that the Department of Justice was scrambling to scrub the Epstein files under little legal guidance. The Epstein Files Transparency Act states that the DOJ is permitted to withhold certain information, such as the personal information of victims and materials that would jeopardize an active federal investigation. It also says no later than 15 days after the required publication, DOJ must report to Congress all categories of information released, and we don't need to know all that. But yes, Massie said that the House is going to hold Attorney General Bondi in inherent contempt of Congress. This was on CBS's Face the Nation. Again, I think Thomas Massie, a little bit like Marjorie Taylor Greene here, enjoys kind of the attention from the media. The Republicans have a long history of really, really wanting to be liked by the cool kids in the room, in their mind, the media. We're going to give you some of the media updates a little bit later on, but they just want to be liked so bad by the media. If you look at someone like John McCain. He thought he was liked by the media. They called him a maverick. And then when he became the nominee for President of the United States on the Republican ticket, they turned on him. Remember, they had the next day they had some article that proved to be unfounded about him potentially cheating on his wife or something like that. They went all in with the long knives, but we don't have to bring up McCain. But Massey said that they're flouting the spirit and letter of the law. It's very troubling, the posture that they've taken, and I won't be satisfied until the survivors are satisfied. You know, I said in the hours leading up to this release that we will know if they are complying, if they implicate any of the other criminals that are involved, and the suspects that are involved, the witnesses. These victims themselves have given to the FBI, and they've never been mentioned. So Margaret Brennan said, what are you going to do about it to force them to comply? I mean, can you do anything? He said, oh, absolutely. Look, people have talked about, and by the way, Todd Blanche in the face of this, but it's really the Attorney General's office. It's Pam Bondi who is responsible. And there are several ways to get at this. Some take longer, some are shorter. The quickest way, and I think most expeditious way to get justice for those victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi. And that doesn't require going through the courts. Basically, Ro Khanna and I are talking about and drafting that right now. We'll talk a little bit more about the Epstein files. I do have to take a break. Got some comments coming in, some waves coming in. I know everybody's schedule is a little bit different this time of year with the holiday season. So if you are new to the program, I appreciate you tuning in. That number on the bottom of the screen, you can reach out at any time, comment on the issues of the day, either text or leave a voicemail. Also, you can send in your wave there. We count your waves. That's, again, for all of our new viewers, and we appreciate you, all of you, for joining in. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
You lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
You know that children growing up with poor air quality have smaller lungs and higher rates of asthma than children that grow up with good air quality. And unfortunately, poor communities have poor air quality. IQ Air Foundation is working to change this. Today, the IQ Air Foundation provides filtration technology to schools with poor air quality through our Clean Air for Kids program. Our goal is to help over 50,000 school children every year breathe over 90% cleaner air indoors, helping to level the playing field, reduce barriers to learning, reduce sick days, and increase test scores. Mitigating poor air quality is key to environmental justice. Help Clean Air for Kids reach more children at IQAirFoundation.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Comment from a viewer saying, I'm amazed that I already received my donation receipt in the mail from the Salvation Army. Well, they don't mess around. They get right on it. That's great. That Salvation Army is hard working this time of year. Let me tell you, I've been running into the captains as they drop off the kettle in Centerway. So we've had a couple nice chats, and it's been a busy year. I think it's going to be a good year. I know we're short of our goal. Our goal was $60,000. Last I heard, we were pretty short of that, but that could all change because this is the busiest. This week is the busiest when it comes to donations. So we will see. And thank you to everybody who donated during our telethon, nearly reaching. I can't believe we won't make it, but if not, we're going to be darn close reaching that $12,000. Okay, we're talking about the Epstein files. How do you like this? This is such a weird way of presenting it from the media. Bill Clinton, a main character in the Epstein drop, just can't escape scandal. The Republican-led Justice Department's release of photos of the former president with Jeffrey Epstein will introduce yet another generation to his flaws and controversies. One photo shows him sitting on a private plane, smiling and slightly red-faced, with a young blonde draped across the arm of his chair. In another image, he's relaxing shirtless in a hot tub with his arms behind his head, the face of the person beside him redacted in a black box. There he is, grinning next to Mick Jagger in a button-down shirt and blazer, and again swimming in a marble-tiled indoor pool alongside Maxwell, who helped run Jeffrey Epstein's sex trafficking operation, and smiling broadly in a silky patterned shirt, standing shoulder to shoulder with Mr. Epstein. The photos were released without context by President Trump's Justice Department and lacked information about where they were taken, when, and why. But the man in them is unmistakable. Bill Clinton, the former two-term president, globe-trotting philanthropist, and one of the most recognizable symbols of the Democrat Party. Over the quarter century since he left the White House, he has painstakingly worked to overcome the personal scandals that marred his presidency, has he? At 79, Mr. Clinton has been enjoying the lifestyle of an elder statesman, traveling the world to deliver speeches and eulogies, writing memoirs and political thrillers, and continuing his philanthropic work. But the Justice Department's avalanche-like release on Friday of more than 13,000 files related to Epstein served as a powerful reminder of Mr. Clinton's long scrutinized ties to the disgraced financer, as well as some of the former president's less statesman-like traits, his womanizing, reckless judgment, and being impulsive. Now, if you remember, during the Me Too movement, there was quite a pushback on Bill Clinton, and even Senator Gillibrand kind of denounced him and the Clintons and didn't want his endorsement. That's since changed. It was almost as if a year or two went by and all was forgotten and people were looking for his endorsement again. But it says here, now, thanks to the Republican-led Justice Department, the never-before-released images in the Epstein files will introduce yet another generation to the former president's flaws, scandals, and misconduct. Notably, the collection of documents, photographs, and files disclosed on Friday included many photos of Clinton, but few mentions of Trump. The Justice Department said more documents would be released in the coming weeks, but the political motivations of the White House in this first drop were obvious and well-worn. Distract from Trump's involvement in the scandal by pointing the finger at Clinton. I think that's a little overhyped. A spokesman for Clinton and the Justice Department said the Justice Department was releasing photos of the former president to try to deflect from whatever might be coming in future disclosures. Quote, it's obvious what the Republicans in the White House and at the Justice Department and their desperate congressional cronies are doing. What they're hiding is not obvious, but it must not be good. The photographs are unlikely to be the end of Clinton's troubles surrounding his involvement with Epstein. The Clintons have spent months trying to avoid appearing in person before the House Oversight Committee to testify in the Epstein investigation. Such an appearance would be highly unusual. No former president has appeared before Congress since 1983, when President Ford did so to discuss the celebration of the 1987 bicentennial of the enactment of the Constitution. The release of these images could intensify public pressure on the couple to publicly participate and raise fresh questions about Bill Clinton's description of the relationship. He has said that he did not know about Epstein's crimes, and he stopped contact after reports began to emerge in 2005. Again, a spokesman for Clinton said there are two types of people here. The first group knew nothing and cut Epstein off before his crimes came to light. The second group continued relationships with him after we're in the first. No amount of stalling by people in the second group will change that. What? Anyway, there's a quick little update on Epstein, but somehow the media twisting it to somehow be a negative that they're releasing all this information. Anyway, yesterday was the Turning Point USA America Fest. We're going to talk about that when we come back. We, yes, have a lot of New York updates that we're going to get to. Your thoughts. I know a lot of people were texting me over the weekend, very disappointed that Elise Stefanik has dropped out of the governor's race. Myself, I'm very disappointed. I think it was a kind of a once-in-a-generation chance at us winning the governor's race. We're going to talk about that. What were your initial reactions when you heard the news? Because not only is she not running, which you could make the argument, okay, she's not running for governor because Blakeman was kind of a thorn in the side, and maybe, she didn't receive the endorsement from Trump right away, and she's upset about that. That's kind of the talking point right now. But to not run for re-election to Congress means that she must really be jaded by politics, because that is an easy seat. She could have that in perpetuity. She could have that forever if she wanted to. But instead, she said she wants to focus on her family, focus on her young son. So that does not make it any less disappointing, but that is where we're at this morning. So we're going to talk about that. Stay with us, though. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
In the heart of nature, collisions happen when you least expect them. Deer hits can turn a tranquil drive into a chaotic moment. When the unexpected happens, turn to Scott's Collision. At Scott's Collision, we understand the frustration of unexpected encounters with wildlife. From dents to more extensive damage, we've got you covered. When nature and your vehicle collide, trust Scott's Collision to bring it back to life.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Having a safe home is essential to many aspects of our lives. From a sense of community and safety, to physical and mental health, to economic security and independence. Most homes in our communities are not accessible and are not designed to accommodate the changes that come with age, including the risk of falling. The Older Adults Home Modification Program helps reduce the risk of falls, improves safety, and increases accessibility and independence. Through this program, Rebuilding Together works with older adults to provide no-cost preventative home repairs so our neighbors can safely age in place in the homes and communities they love. To learn more, visit rebuildingtogether.org/safeathome.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Boy, this show's going quick this morning. So what was interesting at Turning Point USA's America Fest, first of all, I don't know if you watched any of it. Kind of a shock that rapper Nicki Minaj, who kind of has a wild reputation, for lack of a better word, she attended, where she took questions from Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica. She urged young men to be like handsome and dashing President Trump while ripping California Governor Gavin Newsom. Trump has given so many people hope that there's a chance to beat the bad guys and to win, and do it with your head held high, said Nicki Minaj, the rapper. Erica noted that her late husband Charlie loved to bring surprise guests during Turning Point USA gatherings. During their onstage discussion, the queen of rap got candid about her religious journey and her discussion to speak up against the slaughtering of Christians in Nigeria. We won't be silenced ever again. We will speak up for Christians wherever they are in the world. Minaj vowed that she's not going to back down anymore and urged America Fest attendees to stand by their core beliefs regardless of what other people say. When asked about the backlash over her politics from her industry, Minaj simply replied, "I didn't notice. We're the cool kids. The other people, they're the ones that are still just disgruntled. They are angry with themselves," meaning the left. And you've heard me make that argument before, that if you really want to be rock and roll, if you really want to be a rebel, if you really want to be, as she says, the cool kids, you would need to be a conservative. Because, I mean, rock and roll isn't Bruce Springsteen getting up and lecturing you about the 1% as he charges you $300 for general admission. But I'll continue, and then lectures you about politics in general. In a world that doesn't want us to think, we will think, Nicki Minaj said. The famed rapper electrified the crowd and drew a steady stream of standing ovations at the gathering. Minaj has become more outspoken about politics over recent weeks. She made headlines last month for raising concerns about the treatment of Christians in Nigeria during a collaboration with UN Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz. Nigeria is a place I've always loved. Someone very dear to me, my pastor, is Nigerian. I have lots of Nigerian barbs, and so hearing that, I don't know what that means. While they're in church, people are being kidnapped, people are being killed, brutalized, all because of their religion. That should spark outrage. She also tore into Newscum, as she called them, for the stance on transgender children. Imagine being the guy running on wanting to see trans kids. Not even a trans adult would run on that. Normal adults want to see happy, safe kids, she said. Don't be Newscum. During her riff about her advice to young men, Minaj did make a gaffe where she called Vice President J.D. Vance an assassin. Probably not the right crowd for that. She was saying it in a nice way, saying it as, you know, he's kind of a stone cold killer with his responses. Not the right atmosphere in front of Charlie Kirk's widow. You have amazing role models like the assassin, J.D. Vance, our vice president. Erica reassured her that she was unbothered by the awkward descriptor, and Vance later took to the stage and praised her. J.D. Vance saying, "I've had this little nagging voice in my head, wondering whether Minaj thinks I look like the J.D. Vance meme. And it turns out I confirmed when she walked down the steps, Nicki Minaj actually knows what I really look like, and that is the best tribute that I could possibly imagine." So she had some very pretty conservative words to say. Talking about the Christians being persecuted in other countries. I truly feel that there are people out there who felt good about chastising Christians right here in our country, and it's really sick. We can't let people like that be in power. All you have to do is look at what is happening in other places in the world, look at what is being done to Christians all over the world, and ask yourself why people in this country that were in positions of power felt so comfortable to try to take our voices from us. They are that afraid. They are that intimidated. They are that insecure. They are the small inside that hearing and seeing us worship God irritated them. Our spirits irritate them. When the truth walks in the room, the lies hide. They don't come out willingly. You got to pry it out of them. They hide because they don't want you or anyone to know who they really are behind closed doors. Because even they know how evil it is to try to deprive people of worshiping God. So quite an impressive speech by Nicki Minaj. Not a sentence I thought I'd be saying on this program. That's not any criticism of her. I just didn't know she had that kind of political hobby, if you will, political beliefs in the way that she did. Now, as I said, J.D. Vance pointed out the best way. This was at the Turning Point USA event. The best thing to do to honor Charlie Kirk is to not do anything that Kirk refused to do. He spoke how Donald Trump says, "Make America Great Again," because each American is invited President Trump did not build the greatest coalition in politics by running his supporters through endless, self-defeated purity tests. He says, make America great again because every American is an individual. We don't care if you're white or black, rich or poor, young or old, rural or urban, controversial or a little bit boring, or somewhere in between. People of every faith come to our banner because they know that the American First Movement will make their lives better, and they also know that the Democrats don't care about anything other than maybe transing their kids. I didn't bring a list of conservatives to denounce or to deplatform, and I don't really care if some people out there, I'm sure we'll all have the fake news media denounce me after this speech. But let me say, the best way to honor Charlie is that none of us here should be doing something after Charlie's death that he himself refused to do in life. He invited all of us here. So it was critical of these kind of purity tests that we're seeing, I guess, in the conservative movement. He vowed to stand with every patriot in the room to defend the country we so dearly love. President Trump, as I mentioned, to build the biggest coalition. Some of you impatient at the pace of progress, and my response is that is good. I know some of you are discouraged by the infighting over any number of issues. Don't be discouraged. Would you rather lead a movement of free thinkers who sometimes disagree than a bunch of drones who take their orders from George Soros? My friend, commit to these things and I promise you a victory. I promise you closed borders and safe communities. I promise you good jobs and dignified life. Only God can promise you salvation in heaven. But together, we can fulfill the promise of the greatest nation in the history of the earth. We have far more important work to do than canceling each other. We have got to build, and President Donald Trump is a builder. We're building a better country right now. We build by adding, by growing, not by tearing down. So, CNN said, Turning Point exposed a brewing MAGA civil war. Can J.D. Vance unite it? I'm going to tie this in with some media updates. We are going to talk about Elise Stefanik. Your thoughts. What are you going to do now? Do you support Blakeman? I know, to Mark's point, it's kind of anybody but Hochul. Blakeman, we'll talk more about him later on. We're going to talk about a lot of New York State issues. We've got an update on kind of the green policies coming from Albany. All that and much more. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. How late am I? Wow. We'll be back after this.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
Already Christmas. Lot looks good. I'm glad we got that done. What the?
They got the lot ready for us. You got the camera?
Camera?
I got a camera. I'm always strapped.
My shoe!
You never know who might roll into town.
Family or friends.
We have deals for everyone at Blaze Alexander Family Dealerships, where you'll find the lowest price guaranteed.
When weather hits the Twin Tiers, the road changes fast, and your tires should keep up. At Tire World, we're here to make sure you're ready for every snowy morning, icy curb, and late-night drive home. From all season to dedicated snow tires, our experts help you find the perfect fit for your car, your budget, and the way you drive. Fast service, trusted brands, and safety you can feel every mile. Don't wait for the first storm and roll into winter with confidence. Tire World of Corning, family service you can trust.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're going to give you a couple of media updates before we get into the New York stories. But this is a comment from a viewer. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning to you. In my opinion, I can't believe there's not something more to Elise Stefanik leaving the way that she did. And we thought it was late when she finally announced. I agree with that. Why was she allowed to even announce, only to drop out with this manner in Congress? Jilted is a word that came to my mind immediately. I don't like the way this was done, and frankly, I don't like some of the words I heard from the powers that be that sounded disingenuous. I remember Paul Rhino Ryan. I like that. Well, also wanted to spend time with his family. It's what they all say. They had a family before they were involved with politics. There is much more to this story than meets the eyes, and I don't think we will like it if and when the truth comes out. That could be, I've heard some people say that. I think, maybe I'm just being naive, but I do think there was the point that when Trump didn't endorse her, that he kind of endorsed both of them. I think she took it as an insult after being insulted and not being the UN ambassador. So I think it just kind of made her jaded when it came to politics. That was my thought. I understand what you're saying. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you at all. I understand that I had other people in my life say the very exact same thing. But to me, I just think it was kind of, she felt beat down a little bit. We're going to talk about it coming up in just a little bit. But first, so Turning Point exposed a brewing MAGA civil war. Do you believe that? This week's gathering of young Republicans and conservative influencers in the Arizona desert offered a glimpse into the divisions, already fraying President Trump's coalition, even before its lame duck leader is out of the picture. There's a lot to dissect there. Now, we've talked about in this program numerous times. They continue to want you to believe, and they're using their kind of propaganda style, that the MAGA coalition's done. There is no MAGA coalition. Everybody's turned on Trump. Everybody is fighting in the MAGA movement, and they've been pushing that message for a long time. And now they're pushing this idea that Trump is a lame duck. But Vice President J.D. Vance, a figure many in the movement view as a man who can keep the party's big tent together through the Trump era and beyond. Speaking Sunday at Turning Point USA's annual conference, America Fest, Vance not only addressed head-on the friction pulling at the party, but also encouraged attendees to embrace it. As the party's number two, Vance has spent the past year cautiously trending through the GOP's arising tensions, taking care not to alienate any corner of the party's growing tent. He has largely maintained credibility with Israel's allies and its skeptics, big tech billionaires and artificial intelligence alarmists, immigration hardliners and greed card advocates, isolationists and foreign policy hawks, populists and establishment Republicans. Anyway, I don't have to get into this. Yeah, the MAGA's over. That's what they continue to tell you. A couple of other media updates. Oh, did you see... So CBS, 60 Minutes, postponed a segment, and the segment was on migrant inmates from El Salvador's CECOT prison. Well, there is outrage behind the scenes. 60 Minutes just suffered a severe blow to its credibility. Now one of its own correspondents fears the program is being dismantled, and some employees are threatening to quit. What was the trigger? CBS News suddenly shelved a segment featuring the accounts of Venezuelan men deported by the Trump administration to a notorious maximum security prison in El Salvador. The correspondent who reported the story, Sharon Alfonsi, said in an internal memo that the public will correctly identify this as corporate censorship. According to Alfonsi and two CBS sources who spoke with CNN on condition of anonymity, the story has been fully fact-checked and legally vetted by the time the network publicized it on Friday afternoon. But CBS News editor-in-chief Barry Wise weighed in with questions on Saturday morning. The two sources said Alfonsi said Wise spiked the story. One of the main issues Wise raised was the lack of response from the Trump administration to the reporting. According to Alfonsi, we requested responses to questions and or interviews with DHS, the White House, and the State Department, but the administration did not engage, which concerned Wise. At one point, Wise suggested that the program try to interview White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller and provide Miller's number, according to one CBS source. Alfonsi argued in her memo that the administration's strategic silence cannot be allowed to become a veto of a critical story. Their refusal to be interviewed is a tactical maneuver designed to kill the story. If the administration refused to participate becomes a valid reason to spike a story, we have effectively handed them a kill switch for any reporting they find inconvenient. Wise responded to the statement saying, my job is to make sure that all stories we publish are the best they can be. Holding stories that aren't ready for whatever reason, that they lack sufficient context, say, or that they are missing critical voices, happens every day in every newsroom. I look forward to airing this important piece when it is ready. So that you're going to hear more about that. Yes, we got to take a break, wrap up wrap up hour number 1. Stay with us.
You don't have time to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
What's our stories? The warmth of our laugh? Or our family's secret sauce? We all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/team-up.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up hour number 1. How about this for media bias? Coming from the Express, I don't know why Drudge Report relies on so many publications from the UK, but here we go. Putin and Xi, so Russian President Vladimir Putin and Chinese leader Xi Jinping, to take advantage of Trump's cognitive and physical decline. Where does this come from? One expert warned that Russia and China could take advantage of Trump's perceived decline. Boy, this would have been an interesting article to see during the Biden administration. Mark Shanahan, associate professor of political engagement at the University of Surrey, said Trump's reputation is already handled with care among world leaders. The likes of Putin and Xi will see any decline as an opportunity to press their interest, something they have already been successful in during 2025, while traditional friends and partners will increasingly see Trump as an unreliable ally. A little wishful thinking there, wasn't it? Also, as we talk about the media, late night, get this, late night television, 7,000 Trump jokes and gags targeting conservatives, up 92%. Late night is more left than ever, with 92% of jokes targeting the right and liberal guests outnumbering conservative ones almost 100-1. Jokes targeting conservatives rose 10% in 2025 from the year before. It found that across the Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Fallon, Seth Meyers, and Daily Show universe, 197 liberal guests appeared and only 2 conservative ones. One was Fox News host Greg Gutfeld, who appeared on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, and the other was economist Orrin Cass, a center-right policy analyst, who appeared on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart in April to talk about Trump's tariffs. The shocking data comes at the end of a tumultuous year for late-night comedy, as you know, we've talked about it. But get that. Can you imagine that? Kimmel was the most radical late-night host, rallying against the right 3,046 times last year, representing 97% of the jokes. So again, the far left late-night talk shows, 7,000 Trump jokes and gags targeting conservatives, up 92%. On that note, hour number 1 in the books. Hour number 2, moments away. Stay with us.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's drive drought brought some positives to the crowd. Lee Com Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
Welcome to hour number 2. Hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking. Broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street. I'm your host, Frank Acom. Coming up in a little bit, we're going to hear all about the Lori Cup coming up on the 27th. You'll find out I found out a lot about it. I didn't know what it was, and I learned a lot. So that'll be in just a moment. Ken writes in, listening to the Sunday shows, I feel bad for Americans. The legacy media is hell-bent on dividing this country for political and monetary gain. I really can't blame the sheeple who have been propagandized into believing that the conservative media, i.e. Fox, lies and anything they hear from the legacy media is true. And for that matter, I can't blame the Democrats if the conservative media had the most megaphones out there like the liberal media does. And if they were doing the same things that the legacy media does, Republicans would be taking advantage of the propaganda without chastising the source. I blame the legacy media for their unethical portrayal of the news. Americans will never be able to make informed decisions on how our country moves forward when listening to lies and misinformation. The only way to change the narrative is to hold both sides of the media accountable for lies and misinformation. But I fear this will never happen. And with AI getting better and better, we already can't believe some of what we hear, and soon we won't be able to believe any videos that we see. This all goes back to when I shared last week what Lincoln said in 1858. A house divided against itself cannot stand. Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. But we know the media has lost a lot of its credibility, but Chuck Todd blames the public mistrust of the media on big tech and algorithms, not their lies, bias, fabrication. This is Chuck Todd, used to work for CNN. He was on Meet the Press. Right? Didn't he used to work for CNN, or was he always on Meet the Press? I guess maybe I was on Meet the Press. He said, what I think the short answer is yes. I think, look, we haven't had reliable political leadership. And I think one of the things I like to remind people is, of one of the reasons I think trust in media has fallen to so low, is remember what the media is. It's a reflection of, I say I'm good as a source I have, not necessarily the sources I want at times, to borrow a phrase from the late Donald Rumsfeld. Meaning, if you're getting untrustworthy sources, you may be reporting untrustworthy information, right? You get my drift here. And so I think that the collapse of trust in overall institutions, the media in some ways, is a reflection of that distrust, and so that we may be reporting what the quote-unquote experts tell us. But if the public doesn't trust those experts, and then we in the media are quoting those experts, they don't trust us too. It's a sort of across the board. And what you have now, I would argue, Tom, is essentially the left doesn't trust the media now, and the right doesn't trust the media. We are in this siloed world. I put the blame on big tech and algorithms that sort of, I think, make it too easy for too many people to live in a bubble, a filter bubble. And I do think in some ways there's too many people. I always say we have too many journalists in Washington and New York and not enough elsewhere. So it's not their own, they haven't lost credibility on their own with their bias and their propaganda. It's big tech and algorithms to blame. How does that even happen? All right, we're going to talk about Stefanik. One last thing, because I know we have a lot of Second Amendment supporters in this crowd. David Hersani, I like his writing. Even while... Absolutely agree. Oh, you absolutely agree with Ken? Yes, I do too, said one viewer. I absolutely agree with Ken. I did say Ken, right? Yeah, okay. So David Harsani says, even while law enforcement officers hunted for the gunman who murdered 2 students and wounded 9 others at Brown University in Rhode Island last week, gun restrictionists unleashed their typical unhinged rhetoric. Oh, a comment from a different viewer. Ken, you'll appreciate this. Actually, I always agree with him, meaning Ken. Well, there you go. Ken, you're getting some kudos this morning. We talked about Chuck Schumer and others calling for gun control instantly after this. Take the reliably partisan Senator Chris Murphy, who blamed President Trump for engaging in a, quote, dizzying campaign to increase violence in this country, end quote. The anger is performative and cynical. After all, Rhode Island already features every gun regulation Democrats propose we pass nationally. Like everywhere else in the country, all gun purchases go through an FBI background check in Rhode Island. The state has closed the so-called gun show loophole. There's a waiting period to obtain a gun. Felons are banned from owning firearms. Rhode Islanders must take safety training to obtain blue permits to own handguns, even in their own homes. Assault weapons, the concocted classification Democrats have given scary-looking semi-automatic rifles, are banned. There's also a ban on magazine capacities above 10 rounds. Citizens have a duty to retreat for self-defense rather than a right to stand their ground. Rhode Island has one of the lowest percentages of gun owners in the country. One of the popular rejoinders from restrictionists when you point out all these laws is to tell you that passing safety laws means little if neighboring states have permissive gun regulations. So, for instance, Chicago politicians are perpetually blaming Indiana for crime, even though Indiana has lower crime levels. Well, Rhode Island is surrounded by states with some of the most restrictive gun laws in the country, Connecticut and Massachusetts. All 3 states have passed restrictions that go well beyond any bill that could conceivably pass nationally or likely constitutional muster. Besides all those constraints, guns are also effectively banned in all Rhode Island schools and university. Brown University is a gun-free zone. In other words, staff, professors, and students are expected to cower in fear and wait for police or security to arrive as a murderer walks around with impunity. Parents trust administrators and professors to house, feed, and educate their children, but not to have a concealed carry permit and possibly save students in case of tragedy. In any event, the idea, often pushed by the left, that people have unfettered access to guns is a myth. There are somewhere around 40,000 laws restricting guns on the books in the U.S. No constitutional right is nearly as regulated. It's exceptionally likely that Brown's shooter broke a slew of laws before he murdered anyone. So what is left to pass? Confiscation? Of all the natural rights codified in the Constitution, none, not freedom of speech, press, or religion, or the ability to vote or to demand due process, had a longer or deeper history in our law and tradition than the right to defend oneself. So perpetually rehashing the same tired arguments gets us nowhere. Mass shootings, typically defined as an incident where 4 or more people are murdered in a public place, will almost always attract more media attention. But building gun policy around mass shootings, as horrific as they are, is a bad idea. Mass shootings, driven chiefly by mentally disturbed or politically motivated individuals, are distinct from other criminals. Even using the most generous definition, and anti-gun groups make up all kinds of misleading statistics, mass shooting still encompasses only a tiny percentage of overall gun crimes. The number is somewhere between 1% to 2%. Most gun crimes are driven by predictable criminality. If we were really interested in mitigating gun deaths, there are avenues to pursue. Vigilantly enforcing gun laws that already exist is one. There's no reason, for instance, that we aren't prosecuting more adults who fail to secure guns in houses with children or people who lie on their background checks. Reaching out to help those in pain in our communities is another. Most gun deaths, after all, are suicides. Then, of course, locking up violent criminals for longer prison terms is likely the most obvious and effective way to mitigate gun crime. The preponderance of firearm offenses is perpetrated by recidivism. Gun offenders have a higher recidivism rate than virtually anyone in any other criminal category. You're not going to be able to eliminate guns, but you can do more to detain the people who abuse them. A far more realistic solution than the gun restrictionist probably doesn't want to hear. I thought that was a good piece by David Harsani. Okay, so as we mentioned, Donald Trump did not endorse Elise Stefanik did not endorse Blakeman. That all changed on Friday when it was reported, shockingly, Elise Stefanik dropped out of the governor's race and re-election for Congress, opting out of both. Now, I know many are disappointed. I'd like to hear your thoughts. But Donald Trump tweeting out, Elise Stefanik, a fantastic person and congresswoman from New York State, has just announced she won't be running for governor. Elise is a tremendous talent, regardless of what she does. She will have great success, and I am with her all the way. Now, it is being reported, and I know you always got to take what's being reported in the media with a grain of salt, but basically she felt jilted by how President Trump handled this. You know, right from the beginning, she was supposed to be UN ambassador. That fell through because Mike Johnson needed her in the House, so she kind of lost that once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So she's already kind of mad, they say, at Mike Johnson over that. Then she declares, thinking it's a shoo-in, that the president will endorse her after all of the support she has given him through the years, and yet he did not fully endorse her. So it is being reported, we're going to talk about it here in just a moment, that she feels kind of jilted. But Trump called Blakeman a fantastic guy and offered him his complete and total endorsement. Bruce is MAGA all the way and has been with me from the very beginning. As Nassau County executive, he is working tirelessly with the brave heroes of ICE, Border Patrol, and law enforcement to keep our border secure, stop migrant crime, safeguard our community, and ensure law and order. Yes, I think a lot of people are of the mindset, anybody but Hochul, I understand that. Boy, Hochul's having a good Christmas. I'll put it that way. When Elise Stefanik dropped out, probably the happiest person in the state would have been Governor Hochul at that point. Blakeman, I'm not going to keep belaboring my criticisms of him. I wish he didn't get in. I wish it was still Stefanik. I'll be honest with you on that. But he is the candidate now. I don't. Now, I'll shoot straight with you. I don't have high hopes. I know they think because he won overwhelmingly in Nassau County that's going to carry over. He is pro-choice Republican, so that will lose him some of the upstate, kind of solid Republican voters. I don't know. As I said, I don't want to belabor it because he is the candidate, but that's what we're dealing with. We're going to tell you what they're saying about why Elise Stefanik withdrew. Michael Goodwin also talked about the fact that this could now open the door for Hochul to easily go to that far left to appease the Mamadani crowd because now there isn't really any pushback. There isn't criticism. Blakeman's not going to have as much money to run as Stefanik. Stefanik had a huge war chest. So we'll talk more about it. I see some comments coming in. Stay with us. Your thoughts about Elise Stefanik dropping out of the governor's race and congressional. You could make an argument. I understand the governor's race. She didn't want a primary. Trump wasn't endorsing her, et cetera, et cetera. And it's still an uphill battle even with her. But Congress, she could have had that position as long as she wanted until she retired. So really interesting there. But we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
When you're online, don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Catch up on news from the Twin Tiers. Vote on the daily question and hear about local events. All on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hustle Sins in Amara Heights. At Hustle Sins, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hustle Sins now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is a start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hustle Sins is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hustle Sins.
Nearly 500 kilos of cocaine has been seized in a bust.
Thousands lined the pier at Seneca Harbor. Race weekend brought thousands to Watkins Glen International.
Hundreds and horseheads joined other cities around the country on Saturday for the No Kings protest.
Sophia A., grade 4, absent, because transportation was absent.
Julio M., grade 6, absent, because Wi-Fi was absent.
Maria J., grade 12, absent,
because child care for siblings was absent.
Jacob O., grade 12, absent because housing was absent.
Aisha S.
Olivia H.
Darren L.
Cole W.
Preston L.
Absent.
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 Because healthcare.
Anti-bullying.
Mental health support was absent.
We're calling roll on the 15 million absent students.
Their reasons why are very real.
And yet the solution is a present, caring adult to help them along their path.
When communities and schools is present, 99% of our students are present and ready to learn.
Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. In New York State, well, let me take a step back. Mark writes, when I first saw on Facebook that Elise Stefanik had stepped down, I text back fake news. But later I found out they were right. That's how shocking it was. I agree with you. If I didn't have it come directly from a source into my email, I would have probably been very skeptical as well. Comment from a different viewer. In New York State, Republicans endorsed a Democrat for New York City mayor. Now the only hope for a real conservative governor has backed out. Nothing to see here. Yeah, I know. It's frustrating. Coming from a different viewer, all these states violate the Constitution of the U.S., and we get silence from Pam Bondi. Thank you. And finally, good morning, Frank. Nothing good happens after 10 p.m., including late-night comedians. And the Sunday talk shows are worship services for the god of politics. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Gun laws and restrictions are smoke and mirrors. Mass murders have been done with cars, trucks, buses, airplanes, even knives. Yet we are told the only answer is to violate the Constitution and take away American rights. You're exactly right. Comment. What? Oh, I don't know what that's in reference to. I don't think there's any news on Gwen Stefani. I think you might have gotten, unless I'm not seeing something here. I don't see anything in the news on her, so you may want to double check your source on that. But could you tell me what you mean? What you heard about Gwen Stefani? Okay. Shocked New York Republicans said Representative Elise Stefanik likely decided to end her gubernatorial campaign after Trump hedged his endorsement, raising the prospect of her eventual defeat. It was the second major letdown for the upstate Republican and loyal Trump backer and prompted her to end her bid for Albany just weeks after her November 7th campaign launch, despite leading in the polls, easily leading in the polls against Blakeman. But all these stories, all the headlines are that basically she got, they're using it to criticize Trump, that she got what they called the Trump treatment, that she was loyal and then he was not loyal to her. The key moment came last week when Trump publicly called Stefanik and primary challenger Bruce Blakeman, his longtime friend, two fantastic people in response to a question by the Post. He underlined his neutrality by hosting each of them separately at the White House in the days that followed, inviting Blakeman to a White House Hanukkah reception on Tuesday. One New York Republican saying that has to be demoralizing when you kind of hitch your wagon to him and then he doesn't come out and empathetically endorse you. That has to be difficult, especially when you got your nomination to the UN pulled and then all of a sudden you don't have 100,000,000% backing. Stefanik has been tapped to become the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations, but Trump in March pulled the nomination after Speaker Johnson concluded they needed Stefanik to remain in her seat to get Trump's agenda through the narrowly divided House chamber. Stefanik now says she won't seek re-election next year. Her current term ends in January of 2027. A second GOP operative who has backed Stefanik said the six-term lawmaker was not happy with how the White House handled this and that her failing to get explicit support counted as a win for Blakeman. Every passing day that was increasing frustration. I'm sensing frustration both with him, or both with being in Congress and D.C. politics in general. And if he's not going to clear the field when this hurts my chances at winning, then why am I doing this? This is the second time I'm being stabbed by the White House. The source said there is a genuine friendship between Bruce and Trump. I don't know if there was this true friendship between him and the Congresswoman. Stefanik herself pointed to the contested primary with Blakeman in her comments in New York Magazine. This is not the right sort of array of things lining up, which is so difficult in New York, which is just incredibly difficult in a picture-perfect year, let alone with a primary and everything else. Exactly. It's already an uphill battle even without the primary. And then Blakeman staying in, it does not sit well with me. White House Press Secretary Karen Leavitt posted about Stefanik that she has been an incredible advocate for the people of her district in upstate New York, and she will always be a true friend to President Trump. On a personal note, Elise is my former boss. She's a great leader and an even better person. We love you, Elise Stefanik. The White House, asked about comments linking the withdrawal to Trump, referred to their social media posts. Of course they're great friends. They speak all the time. When Blakeman told the Post in an interview before announcing his campaign that I know President Trump appreciates competition and I'm sure that he feels that nobody should be coronated. At the time, Carolyn Leavitt said nobody should speak for President Trump unless authorized by President Trump. Yeah, I know. It's tough. I know a lot of you very disappointed. Comment from a viewer. I'd love to know what Judge Janine Pirro thinks of Blakeman. I would too. That's a really good point. Very good point. All right, we got to take a short break. We'll talk more about Elise Stefanik, but when we return, we're going to talk with representatives from the Lori Cup, which is a soccer tournament coming up on December the 27th. The money goes to such an amazing cause. You're going to hear all about it in the next segment, so stay with us. This is Frankly Speaking.
This is Jim from Famous Brands. We are ready for fall and loaded with all of your favorite brands. Great new deals are arriving every week. We have the largest selection of clothing and footwear in the Finger Lakes, all at below retail prices. Famous Brands, downtown, Watkins Glen, where you're always looking good for less.
Toyotathon! Discover holiday magic with a new Toyota. Take a 4Runner skiing.
Wow.
Sick. Pick out the perfect tree with the Tacoma.
Bingo.
Or find the best sledding spot with the Grand Highlander.
Whoa.
'Tis the season for Toyotathon. Oh, Santa got my letter.
Right now, during Toyotathon, you can lease a Tacoma for just $249 a month or get 2.99% APR for a full 72 months on a new Tundra.
Toyotathon is on.
Toyota, let's go places.
You can just keep watching and scrolling, and the world will still feel like it's falling apart.
Widespread missile attacks. Highest hospitalization. Evacuation in the west. Forced labor.
Or you can take action by joining a movement that's creating real and lasting change instead. Partnering with communities around the globe to help uproot poverty and plant seeds of hope for a brighter tomorrow. Because at World Vision, we believe that no situation is hopeless. Join a movement that's changing the world for good.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting from the Hesselson studio, and in that studio it's time to talk about the Lori Cup. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, so I'm just finding out about this. You got to tell us all about the Lori Cup, maybe where it began, those type of things.
Yeah, so my name's Rohan Amin. I'm a freshman at Cornell now.
My name's Lilia Mack. I'm a freshman at Hobart and William Smith Colleges.
Okay. Yeah, so we've been doing the Lori Cup now for 4 years. It's an indoor soccer tournament hosted at the Corning YMCA. Brings in a lot of local people, ages ranging from 15 to 60. So it's a really big community event. Yeah. The event itself raises money for the hospital that saved my life when I was younger. I had a really rare procedure, and a lot of the funds go towards both the Corning YMCA and that hospital. So it's a yearly event. It's a one day, and it brings in a lot of people. It's a really awesome thing that's really near and dear to our hearts.
Well, before we talk about the Cup, tell me about the Ann and Robert H. Lori Children's Hospital, just real quickly, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so when I was 2, I had a really big issue where I kept on throwing up, and there wasn't any like apparent reason that my family could find. So we were really struggling, trying to go to hospitals all over the country, all over the, really the world. And finally we stumbled upon the Laurie Children's Hospital in Chicago, and they said, oh, well, we think we might know what this problem is. They had we were fortunate enough to find a doctor there who did the procedure, one of the only ones in the U.S. I was around his 100th operation, so it just goes to show you how rare this really is. Basically, the blood flow from my liver to my spleen wasn't flowing correctly.
My goodness.
So I had to have 2 major operations when I was little, spent a lot of time in Chicago, spent a lot of time at that hospital, and I still go back yearly to check in to make sure everything's functioning okay. They took out my left jugular. So
oh my God.
Yeah, so
oh yeah, I don't know if it shows up on camera, but yeah, I see it.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, but I'm really super thankful to them and my family for supporting me all through that time, and I can't remember much of it really since I was so young, but just reflecting on it now has been super inspiring and has made us want to start something like this.
Well, it's a no-brainer then why you would have the funds going to that. I mean,
sure.
And to raise already over $20,000, that's very impressive.
Yeah.
Do you have a goal each year, or is it like is there a goal this year? How much you're going to raise?
I mean,
we always have a goal, but each year we kind of have our own goal to strive a little bit higher than the last year.
Well,
definitely, yeah.
So we're talking about the Laurie Cup. Tell us how is the planning going, because it's this week, and I know is this a year-round kind of planning thing?
Yeah, so it definitely revolves year-round. There's people who have to contact pretty early. The YMCA has been so incredibly great. We're super grateful for them. They gave us their facility and everything. So the planning really is for the bulk of the part in the second half of the year, but reaching out to media, reaching out to players, reaching out to facility, making sure everything contractually is okay. It's definitely a lot of work. And this year, being our first years in college and doing it here, it's been another element alongside finals and getting used to life there. But yeah, the planning has been a lot. But I think over this next 8 days or so, and we'll have enough time.
Yeah.
Usually a lot of it is done in that last portion.
Yeah.
And I'm super excited for these days.
I didn't even think about that. So you're in school, you've got finals to worry about, and you decided to do it right around Christmas. So it's just like you want to be completely busy and drive yourselves insane. Is that it?
Honestly.
It's something we enjoy planning for, so we're both thinking about it year long. And we're always thinking like, oh, that's something we could add.
Sure.
And we keep lists of like what we want to add.
That's awesome. What's new this year?
This year, for the most part, it's the expansion. So in the past, we've had 10 teams, 12 teams. This year, we wanted to ramp it up to 16 teams. Wow. So it adds, it adds about 20 to 30 more players, which is really, really awesome.
Yeah.
And I think that's always the goal, to harness more community, to get more people involved, to get more people learning about the story. So that's been the really big addition. Last year we had a glass trophy. This year we have a glass trophy
that's
too.
Awesome.
So we're gonna have some medals, and I think just even more outreach to the community has been really helpful. We've been supported by the VFW now, and that's absolutely massive. It's gonna help us to make facilities so much better and just make logistics that much easier. So we're really appreciative towards them.
Do you find now that you've been doing it a few years that the teams come back year to year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yeah. For the most part, we get a lot of the same people continuing to come because they really enjoy it and they make it their own annual tradition.
Yeah.
But since we do expand it almost every year, we get new teams. Since I've gotten involved, I've been trying to get more girls teams involved, which has been a lot of fun. This year we have 3 or 4 teams of just all girls.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yeah, that'll be really exciting.
Do you each have a team, or are you too busy?
I have a team.
Do you really?
Yeah.
So you're doing.
I'm too busy.
Yeah, you're doing the paperwork. And
I have to do all the logistics, make sure everything's sorted out, no conflict happens.
How's your team look this year?
Pretty good. Okay. It's a lot of people who were on my high school soccer team, so I'm really excited to see them again.
So a little reunion.
Yeah, a
that's
little
nice.
reunion, exactly.
And as we get to college, it's been really nice. Like, I have 2 teams from Cornell coming, and Lilia has some of her teammates from Hobart and William Smith. So,
oh, that's cool. I like how that it keeps growing. And where did the idea? I know we talked about that it goes to the Ann and Robert H. Laurie Children's Hospital. We understand why, but where did the idea come from for this in the first place?
Yeah, so it was actually part of my sophomore year project. We all have to do a personal project at Corning Peta Post High School, and this is something that I don't know. It was something that a teacher had suggested, and that I could get in contact with the Y, and I just thought it was a fantastic idea. I knew it was going to be a lot compared to some other projects, and even a little compared to some other projects. I mean, they really range, but yeah, so it came from that, and it's just like taken off ever since. I just enjoyed it so much that I was like, oh, I want to keep on doing this every single year.
Well, have you, and maybe I'm putting you on the spot on this, do you know anybody else's class project that goes on year to year?
Honestly, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, that was a tough question. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Because sophomore year was a long time ago.
Yeah, that's right. That is true. How has it grown from day one?
Yeah, day one, we had half of the YMCA gym.
Okay.
So space was a little more cramped at the start. We only had about 40 players. Now we've more than doubled that. We had like a small plastic trophy, so even visually going to the big glass trophy with the handles.
The team that won the plastic one must be so disappointed.
Right, honestly, yeah.
They'll come back.
Yeah. They've been coming back trying to win
the glass.
So, yeah.
Does it get pretty competitive?
It definitely does.
Yeah.
Sure. Sometimes we have to calm it down a little, remind people, hey, this is a charity event. But overall, the refs handle it super well. We're super thankful for the people who volunteer to be refs, because honestly, when you have the option to either play or to ref and sort out conflict all day and just be on your feet all day, I'm so grateful for those who choose to be refs.
How many volunteers does it take?
For the most part, it's ourselves and our family. Just sorting out like logistical matters at the start, and then I let my family relax. I kind of rope them into it, but then I kind of do most of the updating on the scoreboards myself.
Okay. So you guys got a busy day.
Yeah.
How did you originally get involved with it? I didn't ask that.
I got involved last year, so I'm pretty new to it, but I started because Rohan wanted some help making social media accounts and just outreaching to...
So you're the PR?
Yeah, I'm the PR. Okay. So I run all the social media accounts, the Instagram, graphics are designed by me, and it's been really helpful to get more of a geographical spread of people coming into the tournament, because it did originally start just people local, and now we have people coming from 2 hours away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Can people follow online throughout the day?
Yeah. So especially last year during the tournament, we were updating Instagram stories about the bracket. Cool. So yeah, it's very fun to keep track of, even if you're not involved.
And if you're not involved, you're not playing, are spectators invited or no?
Most definitely, yeah. So all they have to do is come through the YMCA main entrance and sign in the guest or sign their card when they walk in. But we definitely welcome spectators. It's a lot of parents who their kids are in college or even after college, and they thought, oh, well, we're never going to see our kids play soccer again past the high school level. So,
how long does the typical day last? Is it all day?
Yeah, this year, especially with the expansion to 16 teams, we've had the Y has been so great, and they've accommodated for an extra hour. So this year the tournament does go from 11:15 to 4 p.m.
Okay.
So it's a long day, especially for us coming in before and after, setting up, tearing down.
It feels like it goes by quick.
No, I'm sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're playing.
It's hectic.
Yeah. You get to play.
True.
What would you say the goals for the future are? Do you want to continue this year as a yearly tradition?
I would definitely say so. Continuing it as a yearly tradition, expanding to more people. Even like, I just want to have like little things even that just make it that much more special. I think this year we've been able to collaborate with the hospital a lot more. Something that was really fulfilling last year was that we actually got to travel to Chicago and present the check in person. I got to see the surgeon who operated on me. Wow. So it was really fantastic. And yeah.
Did you send out a press release on that with a picture?
Yes.
Yeah, I would hope so. I was going to say, that's PR 101. That's wonderful. Now, you mentioned the teams are all booked up. You can't start a team at this point.
Yeah.
But how can people like us get involved?
Yeah, so we do have a GoFundMe available right now.
Okay, I'll show that after our interview. Okay.
Yeah. So all donations from that go towards the hospital and towards the YMCA. Otherwise, we would love to have anyone who wants to stop by and spectate and see the event. I mean, it's really something that we're super proud of, and we love sharing it with the community. Even if you don't want to play, don't know soccer that much, it's just, I think the energy speaks for itself.
Yeah. All right, before we go, this is a tough question, and I didn't mention it at first. How's school going?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to give me
Just
more than
finished-
good.
We just finished our first semester,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And you're liking it? You're getting used to it?
Liking it. I think it's hard.
Yeah.
It's different than high school. But
It's a learning experience.
Yeah. But that's what it's supposed to be. It's college, right?
We just finished our last finals, so we're back here.
Yesterday.
Back here to relax and
and
do
the
the
Lori Cup has a lot of
the Lori
work.
Cup.
Yeah, no, but
Well, I can't wait. You'll have to, if you don't mind, send us some pictures afterwards. I want
Yeah.
to see the
No,
cup.
most
and
definitely. We'd love
we'll show them up on the screen. Well, best of luck with all the planning, and I hope everything goes great, and good luck with your team.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
All right. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking. Stay with us.
If you or a loved one regularly used hair relaxers or straighteners and were diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, you may be entitled to significant financial compensation.
I've used hair relaxers for years. I had no idea they could cause cancer.
Chemical hair relaxers and straighteners have been linked to serious conditions, including several types of cancer. If you used hair relaxers and have been diagnosed with uterine, ovarian, or endometrial cancer, call us now. There's no fee unless we win your case. Call today.
Your tap water is delicious.
I know, right? It's this Culligan Smart drinking water system.
What do you think is going on in there?
I'm smelling a touch of chlorine.
Yeah, I'm detecting some PFAS.
I'm also getting notes of lead.
Perfection.
Sending it up.
Here we go.
Certified to reduce more than 70 contaminants. It's like having your own team of water experts. See the smart difference at Culligan.com.
I'm Mary Offord. I've lived here for 70 years, but I do fine right here in my house, and I want to be here as long as I can be. And I feel comfortable knowing that if something happened to me, someone would know because of the cameras that are installed in various spots in my home. That has been a wonderful gift to me to be able to have that security and that support from Full Circle America, and that's what it's all about.
Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the Southern Tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. news on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Thank you to our friends from the Lori Cup. That sounds like a fun time and goes to an amazing cause, so we're glad that they could be on the program this morning. All right, let's get back to Stefanik and her surprise announcement on Friday that she's not running for governor and not running for Congress. Again, the media is saying that it's partly due to the lack of full support from President Trump. A GOP source close to the situation said the biggest piece of the puzzle was Donald Trump and the fact that he passed 3 times on endorsing her candidacy, including in the Oval Office with the Miracle on Ice team last week. I think that played the largest role in the decision. Stefanik's original thought process was she jumped into the race last month. It was so she could have a clear shot at Governor Hochul. But once Trump ally and Nassau County Executive Bruce Blakeman announced his candidacy, it became clear that was not going to happen. When you start to add these things up and you see a contested primary, you see an assumed ally in the president who passes on endorsing, and it does not seem that you're going to have the wind to the back in this cycle. I think it all played into this, the source said. Now, Stefanik posted on Friday, I'm truly humbled and grateful for the historic and overwhelming support from Republicans, conservatives, independents, and Democrats all across the state for our campaign to save New York. However, as we have seen in past elections, while we would have overwhelmingly won this primary, it's not an effective use of our time or your generous resources to spend the first half of next year in an unnecessary and protracted Republican primary, especially in a challenging state like New York. You kind of hate to see, in a way, Blakeman rewarded for trying to primary Stefanik. Now, Trump has since endorsed Blakeman once she dropped out. Hochul's reelection campaign, trust me, Hochul could not be happier. This was an early Christmas gift, to say the least. Elise Stefanik has finally acknowledged reality. If you run against Governor Hochul, you are going to lose. As Donald Trump raises costs on New Yorkers and targets this state relentlessly, Governor Hochul has cut middle-class taxes, put money back in New Yorkers' pockets, and fought this administration and won when New York had come under attack. The fact is, 100% MAGA Bruce Blakeman traveled all the way to D.C. to celebrate Trump's tariffs. He ran Long Island's safety net hospital into the ground by appointing corrupt cronies to run it and let violent crime in Nassau County spike to its highest level in a decade. Governor Hochul's message to him, or whatever lackey Trump picks to run against her, is simple. Bring it on. Now, the source confirmed to Fox News Digital that multiple county leaders are reaching out to Congressman Mike Lawler as a potential candidate, adding it's premature to assume that the New York GOP is coalescing around Blakeman. It's very fluid. Many folks are taking time to regroup. That would be interesting. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we assumed Mike Lawler decided not to run for governor, is because it was a worst kept secret that Elise was going to run. Blakeman posted on Friday, I wish Congresswoman Stefanik nothing but success as she pursues her priorities and continues her service to our nation. At this pivotal moment for New York, it is essential that Republicans and all New Yorkers come together in unity. Lawler responded to the news saying that Stefanik has been a terrific Congresswoman and would have been a great governor. As her friend and colleague, I respect her decision and wish her and her friends all the best, or her and her family all the best as she moves forward. Yeah, Lawler's got to be thinking, man, this did not work out the way I thought it was going to, because Lawler was most likely going to run if it weren't for Stefanik, and we know at the time Trump endorsed Stefanik essentially by endorsing him, Mike Lawler, for Congress, basically saying don't jump in this race. Now, Michael Goodwin said, an age-old belief among politicians is that Friday afternoon is the best time to release bad news. The underlying assumption is that few people are paying attention, but that's not true with the case at hand, with GOP star Elise Stefanik dropping a bombshell so important that there was no way to miss it, or the potential aftershocks. Chief among those is that Governor Hochul could have an easier path to re-election, and that means the Empire State's lurch to the loony left could become more pronounced if Hochul feels free to embrace more of the agenda of socialist Gotham Mayor Zohran Mamdani. Stefanik, in the direct style that has become her trademark, put her explosive news this way. Quote, while spending precious time with my family this Christmas season, I have made the decision to suspend my campaign for governor and will not seek re-election to Congress. After I picked myself up off the floor, Goodwin writes, my first thought was, wait, can't we discuss this? The next sentence in her statement only made me hungry for a fuller explanation. Although Stefanik claims she would have easily won a primary, presumably against Blakeman, she added that it is not an effective use of our time or your generous resources to spend the first half of the next year in an unnecessary and protracted Republican primary, especially in a challenging state like New York. There's some truth to that, but not the whole truth. A victory over Blakeman, a fundraiser with a strong base in Long Island, was far from certain. It was pretty certain. Nonetheless, she is correct that the winner of their slugfest would have been wounded and challenged by the need to unite the party and raise even more money for the general election against Hochul. It's not a coincidence that Stefanik made her announcement just after Blakeman made his first advertising buy. The New York Times reports that he spent $25,000 for a spot on Fox News that will run in Palm Beach, Florida between Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. A key viewing audience of one is scheduled to be at Mar-a-Lago during the week. Stefanik did not mention President Trump in her statement, but he certainly looms large in her decision. She wanted him to talk Blakeman out of running, but Trump declined. That had to sting Stefanik because she was a team player by agreeing earlier this year to the president's request to withdraw his nomination to be America's ambassador to the UN. Although her MAGA views, sharp mind, and forceful style made her a perfect fit for the job, Trump was understandably concerned that the House margin was getting dangerously close, so he asked her to take one for the team and stay in the House. She obliged and in return had every right to assume he would clear the gubernatorial field so she could avoid a primary and have a good chance of defeating a wobbly Hochul. It's unlikely they actually had a firm deal, but in either case, Trump took a powder. He later said of the two Republicans, he's great and she's great. They're both great people. Separately, he also said, I also hate it when two very good friends of mine are running, and I hope there's not a lot of damage done. That very un-Trumpian straddle has short-circuited the rise of the GOP's top female star. It probably also hurt the party's chances of seizing Albany next November and therefore holding on to its New York seat and maybe even adding a few. Yeah, I think like when Zeldin ran, she could have easily helped other candidates win because of her campaigning. We won't have that now. Something about Nassau County, where Nassau County people think that they're the most important in the state and that will carry them. I just don't see it. To me, it just seems like another 4 years of Governor Hochul. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't see any way that I am as of now. Instead, with Stefanik not seeking re-election, holding her seat is another new challenge for Republicans. Of course, nothing was guaranteed even with Stefanik at the top of the GOP ticket, but I believe she would have given the party the best chance of winning a statewide election since 2002 when George Pataki won his third term as governor. Since then, the only race within reach was Lee Zeldin's in 2020 when he lost by 5 points to Hochul. Blakeman is no slouch, but he's 70 and not well known in much of the state. His last statewide general election race came in 1998 when, as a GOP candidate for comptroller, he got just 1/3 of the vote. New York is so deep blue that even Trump, in his 2024 White House victory, pulled only 44%. The last time the state went red in a national election was for Ronald Reagan in 1984, when the Gipper won 49 states. A result of the Democrat advantage is that although Hochul is widely regarded as a weak governor, a recent Siena poll showed her holding double-digit leads over both Stefanik and Blakeman. Although Stefanik was widely favored by Republicans over Blakeman, she only did slightly better against Hochul. She was trailing the incumbent by 19 points, with Blakeman trailing by 25. The margins indicate that the race would be a steep challenge for either Republican. The crux of the problem is that New York is growing even more blue, especially in and around the urban areas. Statewide, nearly half of the 12 million registered voters, or 5.8 million, are Democrats. The 2.8 million registered Republicans make up 23%, with an additional 25% unaffiliated with any party. A key test of the gubernatorial race is whether the GOP nominee can demonstrate a serious chance of victory. A governor worried about her own re-election would be far less likely to embrace Zohran Mamdani's call for massive tax hikes and other radical moves. But if Hochul believes she will be rewarded by voters for moving further left, there are no barriers to stop her. State courts are stocked with far-left advocates. The result of a Hochul victory would be a governor and a leftist legislature incentivized to give Mamdani what he wants. Already the issue is shaping up as an odd dynamic in that the mayor is leading the charge leftward and the governor is following. Normally, when they are the same party, the governor calls the shots, especially as it relates to state spending, regulations, and legislation. But Hochul is more of a craven follower than a leader. The only top Democrat to endorse Mamdani before his November victory, she already has betrayed her pledge not to raise taxes by signaling she will accommodate his agenda. All this underscores the importance of the GOP nominee having a credible chance of victory. Only the fear of defeat would give Hochul a compelling reason to put limits on her alliance with Mamdani. We know for sure that the mayor is a true believer in anti-American socialism. The only question is, where does Hochul stand? Count me as a pessimist about that answer. Yes, she can go whatever direction she wants now because she doesn't really have much of an opponent now. That's not to say Blakeman is going to be the only candidate. Lawler might jump in now, but that seems like a long shot as well. They all do. But that's where we're at. So we got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
New York State is putting nearly $60 million towards improving key roadways across the southern tier.
Many older homes are still at risk for exposing residents to high levels of lead.
The Nani Hood Parent Resource Center once again brought the community together for its annual Halloween parade.
Around the southern tier, Finger Lake stands out for its scenery and wine scene. This year's dry drought brought some positives to the crop. Lecom Center is looking for fans to show up and show out.
It's great to catch up, Jamie. How's business?
Good. Are you up to speed with the new beneficial ownership reporting requirements?
Sort of. What's it about?
It's a new initiative to help fight crimes like money laundering, fraud, and drug trafficking. A lot of small businesses like ours just have to report some basic info to the federal government about the real people behind them.
Does that include my cafe?
There are some exemptions for certain companies, but don't worry. There's lots of guidance on the government's website about who needs to file. Check out fincen.gov/BOI. Filing is easy and free. It took me less than 20 minutes.
Looks like I do have to file. Thanks, Jamie. It's great having a supportive business community.
Reporting beneficial ownership information helps protect U.S. national security. Filing is quick, secure, and free. And it's the law. Learn more at fincen.gov/BO.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Let's go to some viewer comments. Little by little, we keep moving to the left. I don't like the way this is starting to alter my thoughts about the administration, and I wonder how many others. I'm certainly not ready to change my vote. I think that was vote, right? Thank you. Yeah, I think it's upset some people. If we're referring to the same issue, it has definitely upset some Republicans who don't quite understand why Trump wouldn't have endorsed wholeheartedly Stefanik, and it led to Stefanik not only not running for governor, but also Congress. Comment from a different viewer. The question concerning Stefanik is, how much damage will leaving New York do to her future prospects? I don't think she has future prospects. If she's not running for Congress, not running for governor, I don't see her being active. Maybe she'll be in the media or something like that, but I don't see her being active in the political world. What else could she run for? Senate is just as difficult as governor, and that's a few years off. So I don't really think she has prospects to worry about losing. I think she'll probably find some private sector job and do just fine. Maybe take a job in the media, perhaps. Maybe as a fundraiser for a political party, something like that. But she seems to me to be a little jaded at politics right now, would be my kind of thought on it. Okay, Ken writes in, I assume Elise looked at the entire package of pros and cons going into the gubernatorial race. Pro, good general support, money was adequate, people not happy with Mamdani, obviously that Hochul is not up to the job, tax base is high and probably going higher, and fracking ban and upcoming gas bans are not popular. Cons, Lee Zeldin was a great candidate and was close but no cigar. Blakeman entering the race will drain money and shorten the messaging time against Hochul. Trump not endorsing either candidate early and praising both candidates ensures a primary. A loss could be more damaging to her political career or private career. I'm sure there are more reasons that we are not privy to in behind closed-door meetings. The bottom line is that any Republican running is a heavy lift to win, and any candidate would have to have full support from everyone. Excuse me, you're exactly right, Ken. I mean, once there's going to be a primary, and that's the problem I have. I don't like the thought of Blakeman being rewarded for being kind of the fly in the ointment. That's one of the problems I have, one of many, of her dropping out. That's almost giving Blakeman a gift. That's why I wouldn't be opposed if someone else decided to run against him in a primary, but I think that's probably a long shot at this point. Mark writes in, if Hochul wins, I'm moving to PA because New York is terrible. Too high taxes, too high utilities, and a corrupt governor. Thank you very much, Mark. I understand the frustration. Now, Bruce Blakeman reveals one issue is off the table in the New York governor race. He said it takes abortion issues off the table. I'm a pro-choice Republican. It will help attract independent women. Hochul had hammered Lee Zeldin for opposing abortion rights, but this time Blakeman said he's going to have to answer for her politics. Kathy Hochul wants to run on anything but her record. I want to run on her record. Blakeman is now considered the likely Republican nominee after securing Trump's endorsement. Blakeman cited clear differences with Hochul to present to voters. Blakeman opposes the green energy scam, the 2019 climate change law backed by Hochul and Democrats. He's an opponent of costly ocean wind power. He said he supports drilling for natural gas, fracking, along the southern tier bordering Pennsylvania to help lower energy prices and create jobs. Drill, baby, drill, Blakeman said. Push to lower state income and corporate taxes as Hochul faces massive pressure from the left of her party to hike taxes. Mamdani has pushed for a tax increase to fund a massive liberal agenda, and Hochul's faced chants from his supporters to fall in line. I'm looking to cut taxes, not raise them, said Blakeman. He will rescind New York's sanctuary state policy supporting undocumented immigrants who came here illegally on day one. Crime is still a big issue, and plans to tie Hochul to the unpopular cashless ballot and raise the age laws. And Blakeman said he would be able to take inroads with minority voters, noting he received more than a third of the black vote in his re-election campaign as Nassau County executive last month, when Republicans typically get 10%. He also grabbed a big chunk of the Latino vote. Okay, that's it. We got time for one more segment. When we return, get your questions, comments in. We'll be right back.
Lather, rinse, moisturize, repeat, and repeat. But it never feels like enough. It's not your products. It's your water. Hard water leaves a mineral residue that clogs pores and dries out hair. Culligan water softeners remove damaging minerals, revitalizing brittle hair and dry skin. Upgrade your shower and skincare routine with Culligan, water you love.
This is a Collector Consumer Alert. Hi, my name is Jared Johnson with SueTheCollector.com. Did you know that repossessions are on the rise in America? If your car, truck, or motorcycle has been repossessed by an agent that broke a lock, assaulted you, or trespassed on your private property, you have rights. Call us for a free case review at 1-877-BAD-REPO. You pay nothing unless we win money for you. Call me now.
It's tea party for Crystal with Miss Marshmallow.
Oh, wow.
And Sarah's first day of management training at Goodwill. When you donate to Goodwill, you help provide skills training and career placement. And the things you love.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. We're talking about New York State issues. Assemblyman Phil Palmisano voicing his outrage at Governor Hochul for signing the repeal of New York's 100-foot rule. The rule requires utilities to cover the cost of new gas hookups located within 100 feet of an existing main line. Without this rule in effect, the cost will be transferred to households, builders, and renters, making life more expensive. Palmisano and his Republican Assembly colleagues recently wrote a letter to the governor urging her to veto the bill. Palmisano said what the governor has done will shift thousands of dollars in new hookup costs directly onto households, builders, and renters. New Yorkers are already facing one of the highest costs of living in the nation, and it appears Governor Hochul is okay with those numbers going up. This is unfair to hardworking people who are already struggling to make ends meet. By moving away from natural gas, we are putting more strain on the electric grid that simply cannot handle it. We run the risk of rolling blackouts and people losing their power, which is especially worrisome during upstate winters when temperatures regularly drop below freezing. This will also make it more difficult to access natural gas by making it more expensive to connect to gas while increasing the cost to existing users because there will be fewer customers to share in the capital and operational costs of the affordable and reliable gas system. Comment from a viewer, gas prices are lower in Chemung County. One place has gas for $2.76. Thank you very much. Well, that does it for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to our guests from the Lowry Cup. We appreciate that. By the way, there is a piece at the New York Post. Minnesota's multi-billion-dollar welfare scammers surely have counterparts in New York. There's no doubt about that. Something you can find for yourself. That does it for today. Join us tomorrow morning starting at 6 a.m. for Frankly Speaking, only on WYDC TV. Big Fox.
Ferrari Auto Team! Buy a new 2025 Ram 1500 Crew, just $43,330. You save $10,000.
Or buy a new 2025 Jeep Grand Cherokee Limited, just $38,490. You save $10,000.
If you don't see me, I can't save you any money.
It's the Wrap Up the Year sales event going on now at Ferrario in Elmira or at Ferrario.com.